Let's get right to it. We're not opening a file on spies or state secrets tonight. We're opening a file on us, on the human species itself. This is about an intelligence operation to find our own origin. This is Project Genesis.
The CIA didn't just watch our enemies. They watched our blood. For decades, we've assumed their focus was on external threats. Well, that assumption was incomplete. Turns out their most classified program was looking inward, deep inside our own biology.
And this is the core of it, right here. Declassified files from 2026 show the agency spent decades analyzing what they call the signature, a mathematical sequence in human DNA that does not belong to Earth's evolutionary tree.
So, where does a bombshell claim like that even come from? Well, to understand it, we have to follow the paper trail. And believe me, this trail doesn't lead to some fringe theory. It leads straight into one of the most secretive branches of the US government.
It leads right here, to the CIA's Office of Scientific Intelligence, the OSI. This was the agency's brain trust, the elite minds tasked with analyzing threats from the absolute frontiers of science. And it seems their most sensitive work wasn't in space, it was in us.
So what were they looking for? Well, the OSI wasn't interested in the parts of our DNA that decide your eye color or if you're going to go bald. No, they were focused on the vast, unexplored territory of our genome that, for the longest time, science had just completely written off.
Okay, so just a quick refresher on what we're actually talking about here. DNA, right? It's a code. Think of it like a biological software. Honestly, it's more advanced than anything we've ever created. It is the instruction manual for building life itself.
But here's the wild part. For years, the consensus among geneticists was that a staggering 97% of that manual was useless. They had a condescending name for it and everything. They called it junk DNA.
So you see what's happening here? While mainstream science was busy studying the tiny 3% they understood, the intelligence community was obsessed with the 97% they didn't. They were working off a very simple premise, one that comes straight from espionage. Nothing is ever junk. There are only codes you haven't broken yet.
And according to the file, deep inside all that genetic static, they found something. And it wasn't just noise. It was a clear, structured signal, an intelligent message that simply could not have been written by nature.
Now, the public first got a whiff of this from two researchers, Makukov and Sherbak. And these guys were not amateurs. They were veterans of the Human Genome Project. After 13 years of work, they published a paper identifying what they called a wow signal and its properties. They were just impossible to explain through normal evolution.
You see, this wasn't biology they were looking at. It was pure mathematics. The code had these precise arithmetical patterns. It wasn't messy. It wasn't the result of trial and error like evolution. No, this had the clean, elegant structure of a programming language. It even contained the abstract concept of zero. I mean, come on. These are hallmarks of intelligence, not random natural selection.
But it gets even crazier. This message wasn't just written, it was engineered to last for eons. It has what can only be described as error-correcting codes built right in. Just like computer software that can find and fix its own bugs, this genetic message was designed to stay stable, to survive across millions of years of mutation and evolution.
And this brings us to their stunning conclusion, stated in plain, unambiguous terms, right in the journal Ericus. The genetic code appears that it was invented outside the solar system already several billions years ago. The code isn't from Earth. It's a preserved artifact from an intelligence that existed billions of years before we did.
So, if this scientific discovery backs up what our intelligence agencies have suspected all along, it raises a pretty terrifying question, doesn't it? How long have they known? And why have they kept it quiet?
Because this is the fundamental question, the one that changes absolutely everything we think we know about our past and our place in the universe. If we are an engineered species, then who are the engineers?
Well, according to records from an alleged 1983 U.S. Air Force intelligence briefing, a project codenamed Garnet had already figured this out. And this wasn't a theory, it was their documented assessment. Their conclusion? Homo sapiens were the direct result of genetic manipulation of a native primate species on Earth.
The reason for the 50-year silence? It was simple. Fear. Pure fear. Because a revelation like this doesn't just rewrite a few textbooks. It would shatter everything. Every religion, every culture, our entire sense of human identity. It would trigger a global crisis of origin.
And so here we are, left with this declassified data and its world-altering implications.
a truth held in secret for decades, pointing to an origin story far, far stranger than any mythology we could have ever dreamed up.
You know, for a century now, we have pointed our telescopes to the heavens, listening for some faint, distant signal from another world. We've been desperately searching for the message. What if we are the message?
The file is open, the signature has been found, but the question of who wrote it, well, that remains the most critical secret on planet Earth.